Today, let's go over the best camera settings on the Samsung S25 Ultra. So first off, let's go into the camera settings on the phone. And while I'm gonna go over all the settings on the camera and the photo video app, well, I'm gonna go over everything, even though our main focus is gonna be to get the highest quality possible out of your photos and videos on the Samsung. Intelligent features are gonna be the first thing. Here I will leave the scan documents and text on, same as scan QR codes, it's just faster for everyday usage. Shot suggestions, I actually have it turned off. You can turn it off if you want to, but I have it turned off because I want to make the photos the way I want it to. But if you want some suggestions, why not? But let's go into intelligent optimization. I would say maximum is probably the best for everyday shooting. If you want to take really nicest photos you can get with this, I guess this is the best option. But out of the three, I never really see too big of an improvement or too big of a change. But just in case it does do something that is much better, you can leave it at maximum. Just keep in mind that when you take the photo and you go into gallery, it's going to take a second to analyze and edit the photo a little bit. If you just want to use this as a quick photo machine, like a social media ready machine, well, I will leave it at maximum. And then the scene optimizer, out of the box, I think it was turned off. I did turn it on because usually people on the smartphones want to have just really quick settings. Then this is really nice. It's gonna optimize automatically. If you want to have automatically good shot. Is it gonna be a huge difference? I wouldn't say so, but it's better to have it than not have it, just in case it does improve a little bit. Now we have this swipe shutter button too. Take burst shots, I never touched that. Watermark off, we don't want that. Advanced picture option. High efficiency pictures. They do save space, but there could be some problems with it exporting to like your computer, to some websites, all those different things. It could just be a little bit not, working as it should. So in this regard, I have it set to off. Even though it's gonna take the photos in a little bit less efficient way, I feel like it's just better overall. You have more usage out of them, you can put them at different places and it's still gonna work. Like I said on the page, some apps and websites don't support HEIF pictures. I personally don't use it, but if you're only gonna look at the photos on your smartphone, then you can for sure put it on. Then Pro Mode picture format, I personally would change it to RAW and JPEG, or even just RAW. But let's say RAW and JPEG so that you both have a nice copy on your phone and have a RAW for editing in post-production either on your phone or on your computer. It's definitely better to have RAW capabilities, really take advantage of the cameras that we have here. Then motion photo capture, and I left it as it is. I didn't really use too much of that feature. Going down, save selfies as previewed, turned off. That would just mean which way it is, so it's either this or flipped. I left it as it was, so without turning it on. Swipe up and down to switch cameras. I have it on, but I never use that feature too. Videos. Auto FPS used for 30 FPS video only. And here is the thing, it is for the low light. So when it's low light, I guess it's better to have the 30 FPS, but I personally go for use 30 and 60 FPS. Thanks to this, you can use whichever you want and you can make that decision. But if you're not really knowledgeable and don't really understand the difference, well, 30 frames per second just means that it is going to be less frames per second, but thanks to this, each frame is getting a little bit more light. So it's better for low light. If you have the knowledge, use the 30 and 60 frames per second so that you make the choice. But if you don't really know what's going on, leave it at 30. It's going to be better for low light if you don't really know what you're doing. Video stabilization, you can turn off, you can turn on. It depends what you're shooting. If you're shooting standing or low intensity, then video stabilization can be turned off and you're going to be using the whole sensor. There's nothing that is going to be impacting it. Video stabilization is nice if you know you're going to do some walking, some running, then it's better to turn it off. So it's up to you to decide what you want to shoot with. Then advanced video options. Here's the thing. Video format. You have the high efficiency and the most compatible. It all depends on how you're going to use this phone. If you want to use this phone as something that you're, for example, shooting a vlog and then you want to edit on computer, I would highly recommend you change it to H.264. It is the most compatible, like it says. It's going to work with all your computers, all different phones, so it's just most compatible. But you can also use it with the high efficiency. In that case, you can turn on the high bitrate, and HDR is dependent if you want it. I think for most applications like Instagram and others, it would be better to turn it off. And the log, I like to turn it on just in case I want to use it in the pro mode. But remember, for HDR and log, you can keep them on here and then turn them off on the camera app, so it's just a little bit faster there. So I will leave the log on. It's only for pro video mode, but I want to have it on so that there is this feature when I am in the camera app. And then zoom in microphone is a nice feature. If you zoom in, it's gonna actually try to pick up what is there instead of here. So that way is nice for that. But if, for example, you're vlogging and you wanted to zoom in and talk about what you're seeing, I would actually turn it off. That way you have the better audio. 360 audio recording, it is not something I use, but if you are using it, turn it on. Not for me. Audio playback, I also have it turned off. Next things we have, tracking autofocus. That can be nice, but it's gonna be really dependent on what you shoot. I would leave it off just like it was right when you turn on the phone. Composition guide. This is one thing that I usually have on just because I never liked it, but I did find myself having photos that are a little bit crooked. And with grid lines and composition grid lines, you have that line so you really can match up to the photo, so you see what you're doing. You see that everything is, straight, everything is not crooked, and the composition is better. So I will leave it on and even do the full, so grid, lines, and level. That is, in my opinion, the best one. Location tags, if you want to have like a geolocated where your photos were taken, for sure, I have it taken off. I don't really need it. Shooting methods, I never touched anything, so you can just leave it as it is. Settings to keep. This, I would say I left everything as it was, really didn't matter too much to me. Vibration feedback is definitely really nice. It just feels nice in the hand when you take the photo and you feel it, so I will leave it on. And that is gonna be about it for camera settings. On the camera app, I will leave it at 12 megapixel instead of the 50 or 200. I did test them out, they do come out be sharper, but you have to remember that when you do change it, you are not gonna be able to use all the lenses, especially 200 megapixel is only on the main. And I would say for majority of shots, I would rather have the convenience of having everything than, switching between the modes. So I would mostly say that it's better to just keep it at the 12 megapixel. It's still really good. I would not change anything else as it is here. Then in the video mode, you can turn off and on HDR depending on what you're shooting. HDR is gonna just have more high dynamic range. So the dark areas and the lighter areas are gonna be better looking. For example, the clouds are gonna be not overblown. Shadows are gonna be a little bit higher, so it's not gonna be pitch black. But you can turn it off if the way you want to use this videos for, maybe like Instagram, where sometimes the HDR is just killing the quality or just doesn't work as it should. Then in that case you can turn it off and it's still gonna look great. It's gonna be just a slight different. I usually shoot in 4K 60 frames per second. That is my favorite way to shoot, and that way you can shoot on all different lenses. But this is gonna be dependent on what you want. Remember, you can shoot in 30 frames per second if you are in low light situation. And from here, what we have is pretty much what we had there. So in the pro mode, like we already did, we have the RAW, we have everything set up, so it's good to go. And last but not least, on the pro video, if you are really into it, it would be best to have the speed at twice the frame rate. So if you're shooting in 60 frames per second, 1/125s. But that shutter speed is probably too bright in most situations, so you're gonna have to probably have it lower. So I would say that for most part, I will leave it as it is. But like I said, you would like to have it at twice your frame rate and ISO as low as possible. With that being said, these are the settings that I would pick for the Samsung S25 Ultra for photos and videos. With that being said, if you have any more questions about the settings or your Samsung S25 Ultra, let me know in the comment section down below. And with that being said, that is going to be the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video once again, and I'll see you next time.